The recent appeal court decision to reinstate Edo State Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu continues to dominate public discourse within and outside the South states. In July, the appeal court sitting in Abuja upheld a federal high court ruling that voided Shaibu's removal from office. The court dismissed an appeal by the State House of Assembly, which had impeached Shaibu on the 5th of April 2024. The appeal court reaffirmed Shaibu's position as deputy governor and cautioned against any attempt to usurp his role. Earlier in the week, on our flagship news bulletin, we heard from Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki, Deputy Director General of the Edo State PDP Governorship Campaign Council, who shared his perspective on this development.
There is no appeal. You started off by saying an appeal court judgment. There was no appeal court judgment at all. That is where it's crazy when you, sorry, pardon my French, when someone who we have respectfully elected as a deputy governor of our state goes on public television to either display such crass ignorance or a deliberate misinformation and disinformation of the larger Nigerian public. What was done 4 days ago at the appeal court was any time a case is withdrawn, the appeal court uses the same word dismissal. What happened was this, and I will say it slowly and carefully for the benefit of Nigerians. In April, Mr. Shaibu was disengaged and impeached as the deputy governor of Edo State in a duly constituted process at the State House of Assembly. Unfortunately, Mr. Shaibu did not defend himself, which is he refused to show, which is actually another case that will be contempt of the constituted court because a tribunal is a constituted court. Outside of that, he got I don't want to prejudice again, what someone in my drinking bar called a Jankara judgment, because it is unknown to our constitution and unknown to law. So the Edo State government and the Edo State House of Assembly filed two separate appeals, which have not come up. They are to come up 23rd of September and October 3rd. That is when the appeals will be heard. However, in trying to serve Mr. Shaibu the notices of appeal, he had been unavailable. He has continually refused to be served. So as a result, the Edo State House of Assembly filed an interlocutory appeal. When you file an interlocutory, it means you are requesting a specific act to be done by the person who is responding. So it is that specific interlocutory appeal that was requested by the Edo State House of Assembly for them to serve Mr. Shaibu. But on Tuesday, or thereabout, Tuesday or Monday of this week, he finally accepted to be served. So upon accepting to be served, the lawyers or the attorneys or the counsel to the Edo State House of Assembly reapproached the appeal court to ask for a withdrawal. So upon that withdrawal, the justices, which is Justice Baka, Justice Musale, and Justice Okon Abang, now dismissed that interlocutory appeal because it's no longer of any relevance and it has no place in law. So it is immediately that dismissal was done. Mr. Shaibu and his spokesman lawyer, who is not even party to any of these cases, went on public television to celebrate a Pyrrhic victory that does not exist. So it's crazy, and this has become a recurring pattern for Mr. Shaibu and his co-journeymen. And this is insulting. It is a reckless abuse of court processes. It is disinformatory and as a result, misleading. And any of those lawyers who have been involved should actually face the MBA disciplinary committee. You see, when you look at Mr. Shaibu, it has become his recurrent and serial modus operandi. A man who, to date, is still having cases he has to solve. When I remember from 2014, when he was facing the ICPC case for fraud and tax evasion and forgery, which was adjoined sine die because he was running for office, as I was in the court for office as deputy governor. That is still there. So maybe all these things are things he's pursuing so that he will not face the real things that are awaiting him now that he's no longer enjoying immunity. Not to talk about his alleged murder case, which happened when he was majority leader of the Edo State House of Assembly. So when I look at him, I saw him on television the other day screaming that someone, the executive governor of the state, is lawless. You know, when our former deputy governor has turned himself into a serial brigand in the public space. He's staining our people. He's stretching the grace of God upon his life. You know, I think it was Shino Achebe. He said, those for whom nuts have been cracked for them by benevolent spirits should not forget to be humble. The lack of humility, the lack of decorum, the lack of general comportment by Mr. Shaibu, who has become arguably the only deputy governor everybody knows in the public space in Nigeria. I mean, he should call himself to order. We are a lawful people. We are a collective of intelligent people. So he should not begin to drag us in the public space in his unending melodrama.
Now, joining us to further explore this issue is Andrew Emwanta, a constitutional lawyer and former information commissioner in Edo State. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Mobolale. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Yes, maybe we should start
this afternoon.
Thank you for joining us. Maybe we should start by having you unpack for us this legal tussle going on in Edo State. We know that, yes, there is an appeal court ruling reinstating the deputy governor, Philip Shaibu, into office. And we also know that the Governor Godwin Obaseki, has sworn in another deputy governor into office. And we know that there cannot be two deputy governors in office. Help us understand what's going on here. You just saw the interview by the Deputy Director General of Edo State PDP Governorship Campaign Council, that's Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki, saying there was no appeal court ruling at all. Help us understand all of this drama.
Yeah, thank you, Bolale. The truth of the matter is that a lie can travel for as long as a year, but it takes less than a minute for the truth to overtake it. The media was awash with that story. The journalists who were in court that day witnessed the decision of the court when the appeal, precisely the one filed by the House of Assembly. Of course, the appellant's brief is here. And we applied for the copy of the enrolled order, wherein the Court of Appeal dismissed that appeal filed by the House of Assembly, and it was against an earlier ruling of the court. I filed suit 405 challenging impeachment of Philip Shaibu, and when the issues of jurisdiction came up as it relates, who of course at that time was the material deputy governor, because we filed that suit in the official name of Philip Shaibu, which is the deputy governor of Edo State. So they filed an appeal. And of course, that appeal was filed by 3 senior advocates on the payroll of the Edo State government. Kemozia is one of them. And I just showed you the appellant's brief. When they knew that, of course, the appeal would be dismissed, they asked earlier, before the hearing of 20th of August, for a withdrawal. And when you withdraw your case and the court gives a decision by dismissing it, it means that it is dismissed. It therefore means that everything pertaining to that particular case against Shaibu is dismissed. And it was in that particular suit that the present deputy governor was claiming, the person Obaseki appointed was claiming to be the deputy governor of Edo State. And you know, the lower court on the 17th of July actually affirmed the position of Philip Shaibu as the deputy governor of Edo State, and that office was never vacant. So it was only through this appeal Omobayo was trying to ride. Now that the appeal has been dismissed, as it stands, if he parades himself again as the deputy governor of Edo State, he will be arrested for contempt, because contempt proceedings have been commenced. And just to comment on what Don Pedro said, he came here to tell all manners of lies. First, he said that there was a stay of execution. That's a big lie. The application for stay will be heard on the 24th of next month. Second, he said there was no decision. I've just disproved that. And third, he said dates have been fixed for a particular hearing. Nothing can be further from the truth. Briefs of argument have not been filed in the other appeal. And he just came to insult Philip Shaibu. Don Pedro Obaseki said, oh, he has been called to the bar, and he referred to a bar in his house. That it is in that bar that they refer to Justice Omotosho's judgment as a Jankara judgment. I don't think he's a lawyer, except he was called to the bar where he drinks beer, as he has noted. No serious person or serious lawyer will come on national TV to attack a judgment delivered by a court of competent jurisdiction. And I think a time will come when his type will be brought out as those giving our profession a bad name, if truly he has been called to the Nigerian bar. So I will not join issues with a man who we know is into pool betting. He even was betting with the presenters of that program. He placed a booty of 2 million naira, and it's very unfortunate.
Yes, this shouldn't be about name calling or casting aspersions on the other person's opinions. We just want you to clarify the issues for us, and you just made some points there. But we'd also like to know if you say that indeed governor, or rather the deputy governor, Philip Shaibu, is still the deputy governor in the state, then what happens to, because there are reports out there that the governor appointed Omobayo as the deputy governor of the state?
Thank you. The Supreme Court have said it time and again that until you have a clear order of stay, and I think I've repeatedly mentioned parts, the latest part, 1940 of the law reports and Section 17 of the Court of Appeal Act that says that an appeal cannot operate as a stay of proceedings or stay of execution until an order of stay of execution of that judgment is given. And besides, it's a declaratory judgment. What Justice Omotosho said on the 17th of July is that that office was never vacant. It was a pure witch hunt by Obaseki. He was elected. The governor of a state does not have the power to appoint a deputy governor. Shaibu remains the deputy governor of Edo State, and he has started officially carrying out the functions tied to his office. He moves with his official car. He has his full security. And of course, contempt proceedings have been commenced against that impostor appointed by Obaseki. And I think it is for political expediency Obaseki decided to appoint Omobayo. He's actually somebody that should be behind bars for parading himself as a deputy governor of Edo State. We only have one ticket Edo people voted for on the 20th, or rather on the 19th of September 2020, and that is the Obaseki Shaibu ticket. It does not matter if Obaseki does not like the face of his deputy. That was the person Edo people elected, and the court has affirmed that position, and that remains the position of the law.
All right, two quick issues here. Number one being that you mentioned that the deputy governor, talking about Comrade Philip Shaibu, has actually begun to operate as a deputy governor. Has he resumed back to his office? Because before he left, reports were that he was banished to the backsides of the wilderness, literally, if I were to say that, or metaphorically. That is one. And two, how do we ensure, or what can be done to ensure that when judgments are given, that the spirit and the letter of those judgments are followed through, and not private interpretations being read into this? Because, like you have actually alluded to, Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki has given his own interpretation. And this is not the first time, this is not the second time these things have happened, whereby a judgment is given and each side decides what they want to pick, what they want to make of the particular judgment. So help us understand these two issues quickly.
I think the issues are quite clear because you referred to the same person, Don Pedro, who in this program, on your program, referred to his drinking beer bar where it was said that the judgment is a Jankara judgment. And when you have beer parlor analysis by palace jesters like my friend Obaseki, that's what you get. It was a decision whereby the court was very clear that the office of deputy governor was not vacant and said that Shaibu should be given all his full privileges. The Inspector General of Police was the first defendant. Immediately after that judgment, the security was restored. And the fact that you even use the word banish, the governor of the state does not have the power to banish a deputy governor elected on a joint ticket with him from government house, as Obaseki did sometime last year. And that was when he actually impeached by his own executive fiat Philip Shaibu, which the court has restored. So even at that time, remember after that time, Shaibu was operating from a particular office. When the court restored him back to his position as deputy governor, he has been operating from that office. And again, it is not the hood that makes the monk. Even if Obaseki decides to make it impossible for him to work with the civil servants, it was Shaibu who elected as our deputy governor, and we are proud that he's carrying out his functions. The other day, when the former archbishop was being buried, he was at that event with the governor. He even extended a handshake to the governor, and I was surprised that the governor initially snubbed, but later accepted his handshake. So I think they are back in place. It is only that impostor. I think our constitution should be very clear on certain provisions, that when you have an impeachment like the type we had by the House of Assembly, it is not in the place of a governor to immediately appoint somebody, because that position is by election. It is only when that office becomes vacant that the governor has the authority to appoint. So I think that is where I think there's need for a constitutional amendment to address situations like this, where a governor like Obaseki, who operates as a dictator, imposes somebody as a deputy governor, when in fact there's a de jure and a de facto deputy governor.
But it appears there seemed to have been a vote of no confidence passed by the House of Assembly, because it was said that 18 out of the 19 members were against or were for the impeachment of the deputy governor. What do you make of that? Do you think that there is some form of conspiracy, or do you think that the deputy governor can continue on that basis?
You know, we've had a situation in our country where governors impose the leadership of the House of Assembly and practically sponsors virtually all the members. And I'll use myself as an example. As a member of the Executive Council last year, the governor himself offered me a ticket to go to the House of Assembly. And because it was a Labour Party at that time he was offering, I thought it was not sensible for a PDP governor to be offering me a Labour Party ticket, and I rejected it roundly. And Obaseki has not denied it. I've said it severally, even on this medium. So we have a situation where the governor has the lawmakers in his left pocket, and he has the assembly leadership led by the speaker on his right pocket. And what do you get? We know what went into it. The taxpayers' money that was used in luring this House of Assembly members, even dollars was involved. So you find that the House of Assemblies of our state have asked severally of what use are these persons. Under the military, we had a system where edicts were made by military governors, and we even have more laws made by the military than the civilian houses of assembly. In Ghana, they don't have what they call regional or state house of assembly. They have only one central parliament. Gradually, our houses of assembly are losing their constitutional relevance. They are supposed to serve as a check. That was the only time you will find about 21 houses of assembly agree on a particular thing in Edo State. Since the impeachment of Shaibu, we've never had any unanimous decision of the House of Assembly. It is not a positive, it is a negative. And my joy is that at the end of the day, it is an eye-opener for drafters of our Constitution, for the National Assembly, to see the mischief that has become of Houses of Assembly. Because they are not like persons tied to the apron string of the governor. When the governor does not like the face of his deputy governor, he uses the House of Assembly. But that is not so at the national level, because we have the Senate and the House of Reps. So one serves as a check on the other. So I think there's serious need for that particular provision of the Constitution to be amended so that House of Assemblies will be independent.
All right. Let me hear from you, Mr. Emwanta, concerning the fact that the deputy governor, Comrade Philip Shaibu, was elected into office on the umbrella, on the ticket of the People's Democratic Party. But as we speak, we know that he's actually decamped to the All Progressive Congress. Do you think there is a constitutional breach there somewhere? And how does it affect the outlook of the elections coming up later on this year? Do you think the APC are better off for it, or the PDP have actually lost something massive? Talk to us about this.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'll start with the last lap of that, or last leg of that question, in terms of the way it will affect the outcome of the September 21st governorship election in Edo State. You know, Philip Shaibu has always been a game changer. In 2020, he was one of the persons we saw in that ticket that made Edo people to troop out to vote for the re-election of Godwin Obaseki. And of course, that was why the governor wanted him out of that office, because he was scared of his political relevance. And Don Pedro talked about electoral value, and he was trying to run down the political profile of Philip Shaibu, who was reunited with his political leader, Comrade Adams Oshomole. And I'll tell you, this one man who was NAN's president. He was president of the Nigerian students, and from there he became a two-time member of the House of Assembly. He won a seat in the House of Reps. He won twice as deputy governor. So when Don Pedro comes on national TV to say that Shaibu lacks electoral value, it is actually the governor that does not have electoral value. In the 2023 election, Obaseki lost his unit in the presidential election, Senate, House of Rep. As we speak today, the House of Assembly person representing him is of the Labour Party. So if you're asking for somebody that lacks electoral value, it is Gordon Obaseki and his younger brother, Don Pedro. So for the elections, it's very clear that the office of deputy governor is unlike that of a legislative member. If a House of Assembly member decamps, he loses his seat. If a member of the National Assembly, whether of the higher upper chamber, Senate, or the House of Rep, the cross carpet, he loses his seat. But in the case of a deputy governor or a vice president, or even the president, the Supreme Court has resolved the matter in Atiku and President. Remember in 2007, when Atiku joined the APC, Obasanjo at that time wanted to declare a seat vacant. The matter went from the Court of Appeal, where it started as a court offense instance, to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said that rule does not apply to members of the executive. It only applies to the legislature as stated in the Constitution. So the entry of Philip Shaibu into PDP, or rather into APC from PDP, is actually a game changer. It comes from Edo North. Before now, that has been the stronghold of the APC. It therefore means that across the various local governments in Edo North, APC will have a clean sweep with the likes of Philip Shaibu, the House Majority Leader in the House of Reps, Professor Julius Nyerere, and our leader, Senator Adams Oshomole, joining forces. PDP lately has never won any election in the Edo North. With the entrance of Shaibu into the party, into APC, it will be a clean sweep.
One very important question before we go, and that is, what would be the state of affairs, especially when it comes to governance in Edo State, seeing that the major forces at the helm of affairs seem to be at loggerheads. They don't see eye to eye, apparently also from different parties. What do you think will be the state of affairs, especially when it concerns governance in the state?
I don't think we really have state of affairs because the state has been rudderless since last year. The governor has spent over 30 billion pursuing the impeachment of Philip Shaibu. On this particular case, the governor has employed over 15 senior advocates of Nigeria. Each of them have gotten nothing less than 20 million naira. The governor has engaged the media actively. The governor has engaged groups. So you find that that has been the business of Edo State. Impeachment of Philip Shaibu has taken the center stage in the last 1 year. And it shows how disorganized the governor is. The truth is, there's no development in Edo State. The only standing ultramodern hospital we have at the secondary level was built by Oshomole 8 years ago. The governor has nothing to show as far as development is concerned. The Edo State Executive Council have never had a fiscal meeting in the past 8 months. So we have a government that is rudderless, and Edo State cannot wait for this man's tenure to end. And by the time Obaseki leaves office on the 12th of November, we are going to have good governance. That's when good governance will return to Osadebe Avenue. Because as it stands, Edo State government, much as we have a ragtag government in place, has failed woefully. So we really, Edo people are in dire need. And that is where the candidate, that's where the candidate of the APC comes in with his 5-point agenda to rescue Edo State from the present dictatorship and from the present misgovernance under the PDP government of Obaseki. All right, Barrister Andrew Aweta, I want to say thank you very much for joining us. Andrew Aweta, former Commissioner of Information in Edo State.